possession as Fresno comes back and wins. Now Santa Maria will put up a three. Bang! Santa Maria!
There's Warner. Here comes a headed jam. Counted for two. Field. Adios! And the Falcons win on a walk-off. And it's saved.
What a game. Smacked to the left. That is gone.
Rafa Perez. That's my play. Off the backboard. Count it. And a win. And a win. Brian Perez. Pleasant good afternoon, everyone, and welcome back to another broadcast here on Real Sports Live. As once again, we're coming to you in Brownsville, Texas, from Luke Fruya Motors. Luke Fruya Motors, home of Buick, Cadillac, and GMC, here on noon. And what a show we got lined up for you here. First of all, I want to preview that we're going to be talking a lot in depth about our showcase. And we'll also have some special guests. Kevin Narrow to my far left and Ruben Rodriguez in the middle. And Kevin, this is one of those shows in which we get to open up a little bit further into the conclusion of basketball season with a state champion joining us. We also get to talk about the showcase. And if time allows, we'll get into softball and baseball. Certainly a busy time, but a good show coming up.
Certainly a good show. It's not every day we get to say we have a state champion. One in the Valley and two on our show. So Coach Jaime Gonzalez and some of the Lady Eagles are here. They made the trip from Harvest Christian. So that was certainly a special run, kind of the icing on the cake for that group. And, wrapped up the basketball season as a whole. You're looking back at the basketball season, everything kind of played out the way we figured. At least on the girls' side, I think probably the surprise was Rio Hondo making it to the regional tournament. In 3A, Edinburgh Vela made the regional tournament as expected. And then, of course, Harvest Christian winning it all, which wasn't a surprise, at least to us. And on the boys' side, pretty much right where we figured. Everyone was out, if not in the first round or the second round. The only team that made it to the third round was Santa Maria, which I didn't see coming. But, of course, with Coach Cipriano, it's kind of the way he does things over there. So pretty much the standard year for boys basketball. Not standard year. I thought it was a down year, in fact, if we're being honest. Especially because we had no teams in the regional tournament. It's been a while since that's happened. But on the girls' side, I thought it was a pretty good year on the girls' side, especially when you have a state champion that you can call in Harvest Christian from Edinburgh.
And again, on the broadcast side, from Real Sports Live perspective, count them: 1, 2, 3, 4 state championship teams, which will all be brought in our showcase, which we'll get to that in a little bit. So again, St. Joe made a run. We talked about that on the boys' side, that, private schools, if you haven't paid attention to them yet, I want you to pay attention to who they play. And when their district talks about first-round playoff games equal round 3 playoff games at the UIL level, I think they're going to see it in our showcase, Kevin, again. But state champions, we had some in our broadcast this year on Real Sports Live.
Yeah, TMI was another. And I know that's a sour taste in Sammy Lucio's mouth and everyone there at Brownsville St. Joe, because they beat TMI once and they had them on the ropes at home last month. But TMI, and then you got to see the charter schools.
Leadership Prep brought home a boys championship. Legacy brought home a girls state championship. All of those games were broadcast on Real Sports Live. It was Taps that threw the curveball that said, hey, we're going to take over and put everything behind a pay-per-view. You know my thoughts on that. And so they kind of threw the curveball at us. We started to hit the curve a little bit during soccer season, and by next year, we should be in a better position. But, 4 teams that we broadcast live, in which we were able to say we had that team on our broadcast, and their kids ended up with a state championship trophy when it was all said and done.
And Laredo St. Augustine too. They lost to TMI in the state semis, so they can take it one further. And of course St. Joe lost to Second Baptist in the first round on the boys and the girls side. But just to your point that Second Baptist was a team that if they play in the Valley, if they were play someone in the Valley, that's third round regional tournament quality level of play. When you look at a UIL score, but for St. Joe, that was a 1 seed. So it's a completely different world, and we saw it at the soccer level with Brownsville St. Joe, who lost in the state championship last Wednesday. And so to speak on the level of how the private schools and the charter schools, it's legit. It's the real deal. And, sure, they may have only played 3 rounds, St. Joe did, to get to the state championship. But to get through those first 3 rounds, their first round matchup against Frassati, that would have been a third, fourth round matchup for anyone else. So for St. Joe to make it as far as they did, they had to get past Frassati. And then they felt that they had a really good chance to get to the state tournament because then they played Sachs, San Antonio Christian, a district opponent who they swept. And then they played TMI. In the state semis, who also they swept. Now, I don't know. I'm not the brightest soccer mind, but I kind of felt that TMI game was a lot tougher than the Legacy Christian game because of the fact that they knew what St. Joe was going to bring, and then to beat someone once is tough. To beat them twice, and then to beat them a third time, and then at that level, it was a pretty tall chore for St. Joe, but they were able to get it done. So we were that much closer to having another state champion.
Yeah.
But we had a state finalist in St. Joe, and that's still something they can hang their hats on. And, I mean, you guys were there, and you guys know soccer far more than I do, but they were a pretty good team this year with Del Pozo and Edgar Garza and, of course, Kiko de la Garza.
Yeah, we talked about that sports so often can come down to not inches but centimeters, and one goal opportunity for St. Joe that would have tied that game up, Kevin, missed by the fingernail of a goalie. And I'm not talking a fingertip. It was a fingernail of a goalie that just changed the spin just enough on the ball that when it hit the goalpost, it spun away, not in to the net. It was that close. And Jacob Young can break that down for us as well as the Legacy team. But from my perspective on a defensive end, you talk about double, triple, quadruple teaming the scorer for St. Joe. That happened. And then allowing one striker to stay back and say, if we get the opportunity, we're going to get the ball to your position, and we're going to expect you to score the goal. And, indeed, that's what happened. Legacy had that guy that said, okay, I can take a 1-on-3, and I'll take it downfield if we ever get in that position. And he struck 2 goals home. Ruben, it's baseball, it's softball season. We're going to take a break, but I want you to dive into that. You got to see some quality baseball yesterday with Brownsville St. Joseph, but you've also got to see some of the UIL teams. And, of course, Kevin, the softball teams are rolling. But, Ruben, let's talk a little baseball here on our show. Again, we're going to get to our guest here in a moment, and then for those fans that I've asked to join in, for those coaches that I've asked to join in, we're going to talk about the selection and how we get to our showcase teams. Talk a little baseball and your perspective early on in the season.
Well, we're starting to see how everything plays out. McCown Rowe, they picked up the sweet victory over Matt Kai, what we expected. Again, McCown Rowe was the number 2 seed in 31-5A, but we'll talk here first off in the Lower Valley. Gal Ponce, if you haven't heard the name, you better learn it fast. 13 strikeouts yesterday in the win against San Antonio Christian, a 6-5 matchup. He withstood a lineup 3 times, took 2 home runs, and he still picked up the win. Also contributed with an RBI single to give the Bloodhounds a lead. And fun fact, him and his teammate Emilio Gano, they go way back. How back? They represented Matamoros in the Little League World Series in 2018, and that talent continues here. A lot of talent. Also, Max Gonzalez. Gavin Cisneros, a fresh 2 weeks ago, St. Joe won the inaugural St. Joseph baseball tournament. In the opening matchup, they played against Brownsville Pace. Gavin Cisneros is a freshman, his first time pitching, 6 strikeouts. This St. Joe team is just loaded and lethal, and they look to continue that dominance this weekend in the Santa Rosa tournament, and they'll be tested against one of the top 3As in the Rio Grande Valley and Rio Hondo in their opening matchup.
Yeah, good stuff. Kevin, on the softball side, of course, from Cal Allen in the first week of the season to what's developing a really good one last night over at Mission Vets.
Yeah, I thought that game, I thought we were going extra innings. That had extra innings written all over it. Both, Mickey Castillo, we knew that she was going to be really good, especially when she transferred over to Mission Vets. But Ariana Alanis is a name that's trending upwards. She was a sophomore last year. She was on the younger South Texas Chaos squad. So she's a junior this year. I got to see her a couple of weeks ago against La Jolla when she squared off against Arlette. And you talk about 2 pitchers that were just whipping that ball in there. And Arlette's already 63, 64 consistently on the gun as a sophomore, and Adi's right there with her. And last night it was just Mickey and Adi who blinks first, and a combined 27 strikeouts between the two. And Adi finished with 14. Mickey finished with 13 strikeouts. 1-0, bottom of the 7th. That was the only run scored of the game. kind of, it was a crazy ending. I kind of wish maybe would have ended a little cleaner because the game was played so well. Just quickly, the right fielder just misjudged the ball, didn't hit her glove, so I scored it as a triple. Just misplayed the ball. And then Castillo comes to the plate, and she lines a line drive right to the right fielder, and she puts her glove out, and the ball just blows right past her glove. Run scores, game's over. So not your traditional way to walk it off, but still a wild ending. But see, last week I saw that, and I saw the pitching matchup, and I'm like, that's going to be one to go to. So yeah, just briefly move forward is Adi Alanis from La Jolla Palmview, and she's a junior this year, and I was talking with some coaches, and colleges are starting to kind of put her on the radar just a little bit. She's that good.
And again, in passing, you throw out the number 62, 63 consistently. To the average softball fan, I don't think they quite understand, Kevin. That is legitimate pitching when your pitchers are delivering those kind of pitches.
Yeah, so when you have – if you're throwing 70, you're D1. You're Montana Fouts. She's hit 70, 71. If you have a girl who's in 60, 65 range, she's pretty good. Out at 67. But not consistently. She's touched it, kind of just rev back, but they fully believe by the time she's a junior or senior, she'll be hitting 70. She's yet to learn how to use her legs as a pitcher, but they're going to fix that. But see, for Arlette, mind you, Jordan Thibodeau is about a healthy 5'8", 5'9". Arlette's about 5'3", 5'4", so her lower body to push that ball. And Jordan, her arms, just think about Randy Johnson and how long his reach was downward like that. So Thibodeau's got that long stretch. And thinking, 5'8" with the legs and the arms, using her upper body. And she touched at 67. So 63, 64 is like 92, 93 in baseball.
And that's at the high school level, my friend.
At the high school level.
Yeah, and so there's some good stuff. I know we could go softball all this entire show and probably not hit a tenth of what's really going on. We can do the same thing with baseball. But we do have some special guests. Jaime Gonzalez of Harvest Christian, state champions basketball, will join us on our next segment. Back after this.
We are the Porter Cowgirls, and you are watching Real Sports Live. Yeehaw! We're the Mace Lady Vikings, and you're watching Real Sports Live. Woo!
Your RGV Vipers are back. Don't miss out on all the action this season at Bert Ogden Arena as we take on Greensboro Swarm on Wednesday, March 8th, and Iowa Wolves on Thursday, March 9th at 7 p.m. and Saturday, March 11th at 7:30 p.m. Purchase your tickets at www.rgvvipers.com Arena box office and watch the action live on Somos El Valle Channel 5.3, Cable 1241.
And you're watching Real Sports Live. We're the Nevada Lady Raiders, and you're watching Real Sports Live.
Luke Fruya Motors in Brownsville, Texas, home of Buick GMC Cadillac, here on a Wednesday afternoon. And as promised, our show will dive into basketball in a heavy way here. And we'll begin now with Jaime Gonzalez, who from Harvest Christian. And first of all, Coach, we say congratulations, bringing a state championship to the Rio Grande Valley. Let's talk about it right out of the gate, Coach. Every coach who hoists the big trophy, when I've had a chance to talk to him after the season was over, the first question I ask is, all right, did you see it coming? Last year when it all was said and done and you guys went back to the gym, we saw it. There was a really good Harvest Christian team coming this year, state championship. Did you see that in your eyes?
We did. It's been on our radar for 3 years now. I mean, these girls have been talking about winning a state championship since they were back in junior high, so maybe even further back than 3 years. After our last game last year, we definitely knew what we needed to do, get back in the gym and get to work as soon as possible, and this time be able to finish it.
Walk us through the season, if you would. The first couple of tournaments. I know, we talked about off air that, perhaps one of the most difficult parts of your year this year was simply making sure you were to be scheduled and then get to play the games that were on your schedule. But let's talk about the early games and the progress your team made in the before Christmas,
Yes, sir.
how they looked.
Yeah, I mean, I think we hit the season right out the gates the way we wanted to. Obviously, as a coach, you want to be peaking at the right time, and there were spurts in November and December that I thought the girls were playing really, really well. I was really pleased with maybe how we handled that adversity. There was maybe a week or two in the season that I thought we weren't playing very well, but it didn't last very long. We would get back in the gym and fix some things, and a testament to these girls and their mental toughness. I mean, they did all the work throughout the season in the gym getting ready for it, but sports and basketball is mental, and they just stayed consistent and focused. All 40-some plus December, I thought we were playing really, really well, and there were some concerns. Are we peaking too early? Improving and playing better, and down the stretch in the playoffs, I really thought we were playing our best basketball. Offensively, I joked around afterwards. It felt like the goal was twice as big. It seemed like everything we shot was going in. So as a coach, man, that was really neat to watch.
Kevin, you got to see him in the early part of the season, and expectations were high on this team.
Yeah, and matter of fact, it was the first game of the year, at least for me. I think it might have been game 2 or 3 for you guys when y'all played Real Hondo.
Yes, sir.
So, right out of the gate, offensively, what you guys were going to bring, as far as that game went, we knew what they were going to bring. But going into that game and going into the season, like I said, you knew what you had with Ashley. You knew what you had with Alexis. What about the other pieces, the girls that filled in that maybe people don't know about, the role players, the six-man? When did you feel that those girls maybe have found their groove? Because, yeah, we knew Ashley's going to get hers. Jamie's going to get – they're going to score. What about the role players? When did they start finding their groove?
I mean, they mean everything to us. I mean, everyone on that team is valuable. And you talk about a Samantha Munoz, you talk about a Riley McClarity, a Jamie Gonzalez coming on as a freshman, Genesis Montalvo, Moreno, and Kezia Leal, Cristina Quintero. These are all girls that they deserve their name to get out there because, I mean, whether it was boards or defense, on offense, I mean, I got a bunch of girls that can contribute any which way. But I've just been really, really blessed and fortunate that I've had this same group for numerous years. And I think one of the keys to our success this year was those role players, but the chemistry. Every coach every year has to worry about, building that chemistry the following year, finding an identity as a team. I've had the same team for almost 3 years. Man, that's been a luxury of mine. And going back to what you said, Kevin, those role players, I mean, to me, they're way more than role players. They may not put up crazy big numbers, on offense as far as scoring, but, man, every one of them has a job to do, and they do it really, really well.
And, talking about the role players, I know some coaches at the smaller levels. I know a couple years ago when San Perlita made the region final, they had never been there before, and one thing that coach realized that he told me was that the depth on his bench. He goes, we weren't that very deep, and I felt that we won the first game at the regional tournament. Second game, we just ran out deep enough on the bench. Was that the difference this year? Were you deeper this year on the bench as far as your depth chart from previous years?
I think we were 7-8 strong, and that was enough. I mean, at times we felt like maybe we needed a little bit more depth, especially when we're playing the bigger public schools and in the tournament. When you're in Game 5 in the third day, you begin feeling it. But in hindsight, looking back, I'm glad we went through that. That's all we had, 7 or 8 that were really going to contribute. Let's put them through the fire, and they handled it really, really well.
When during the season did you guys feel that real shot when there maybe, because like you said, you peaked at the right time, or some teams may peak too soon, but when was it when you guys felt that this is the exact ingredients we're going to need to make that run?
There were several times. I know when we were in Gregory, Portland, we were playing at Wimberley, and they were ranked number 8 in the state at that time, and we lost the game by 2 points. And we didn't get outplayed. This is a powerhouse. And then a couple weeks later, we're in Fredericksburg, and in one day, the same day, that morning, we had Fredericksburg High School, which was ranked number 2 in the state, and we lost by 12 or 13 points. And they were blowing people. We had the scouting report. There would be people 30, 40 points, 5As, 6As, and I was like, man, I hope I did not get my girls in a situation where it's too big for them. But, man, they even though we lost the game, it's one of those where we grew, we were battle-tested. And anyway, we played that game in the morning. And in the afternoon, we had a game against Stephenville. They were ranked number 6 in the state. And both of those games we lost. But, man, we fought well. And it's in those moments, even though there were losses on the record, I was like, man, we got something going on that we in my opinion, we're beyond 1A at this point. We're playing with the big boys, 4A and 5A, and keeping up, or big girls, and keeping up with them.
Gotcha.
So it's in those moments that I thought we may be on to something pretty special right now.
Was there a signature game after that that you had circled on the calendar, or looking back could circle on the calendar now and say that was the one?
Fredericksburg, and it was in a loss. I'll be honest, going into that game, trying to get a scouting report, I had coaches up north telling me, you got to play really, really well, really good, just to not get blown out against that team. So when you hear that, it's a little bit intimidating. And we lost the game by about 12 or 13 points. But, I mean, man, we fought. We fought with them, and we it came down to the stretch. I think that one, looking back, I think as a coach, I felt like, man, these girls are not going to be – they're never going to be in a moment that's too big for them. They're not going to get shook. So I think that one stood out to me the most.
As a coach, when most coaches I've talked with over the years have had a group that's stuck together for a long period of time, they start looking at two different roads that they can go down. One, we can bring in a lot more different styles and plays, or two, we're just going to let her perfect everything we do. Which road did you guys take heading through this season?
Keep it simple and keep doing what we've been doing. We danced with the one that brung us, and I told the girls, I mean, we play fast. We like to shoot the ball from outside. We're going to pressure full court. We're not going to deviate from that very much. We want to play fast. I don't think our girls play very well when we slow the game down. And I don't want to help coaches in the future, but that's that we want to play fast, and we just stuck with that. And we little tweaks here and there, but for the most part is just do what we've done for last 3-4 years.
Walk us through that state championship game, if you would, from the moment you hit the court to halftime. Let's get there. Let's break it down first.
On a personal level, nervous. I felt confident that if our girls do what they're capable of doing, we'd be just fine. But obviously, nervous. It's a big thing. It's a big deal. This is what we've been working for the past 365 days. So, but these girls, I mean, as soon as the ball went up, I mean, and I had told some reporters that were there, announcers, I said, they asked me what to look for. I said, look for speed. We're going to be all over this court, and you're going to see the ball go up a lot. We'll shoot it from past half court. If they let us shoot from there, we'll shoot it from back there. I said, my girls want to shoot. And, man, I think the start, we scored a bucket, then they scored a bucket, and then we went like on a 15-point run and let the pedal off we're going fast.
This is after an absolute blowout in the semifinal game to get to that state championship team. So the roller coaster was heading in the right direction, and the speed was just getting started by that second half.
Yes, sir. It was. It definitely was.
Talk about the second half, and now you got the lead. Now the ring is within your grasp. Talk about the second half.
It was just finishing it out, closing it out. I knew we had a comfortable lead, that it was time to let everybody get in and enjoy the moment, the experience, get everybody some good quality playing time, and really it was just conserving that lead, and the girls did a really good job of just closing it out.
A lot of coaches that I talk to also will then talk about what happens after a state championship, and your girls, your answers off the camera were the rare ones. Talk about what your girls were doing day after the state championship was hoisted.
Yeah, we've got back Friday night from Waco and got back late. And my daughters, two of my girls, Saturday morning, and I just had a brief talk with them in between all of that. I said we did a lot of working this past off season, and I said, in my opinion, as a coach, as a player, a competitor, you always feel you could do more. And I said this next off season, to stay on top of it. We got to the top of the mountain. That was hard work, but sometimes it's harder to stay on top, and we're going to have to do even more. And that's all I had to say Saturday morning there in the gym, and I like it. And I think that's the attitude of the rest of my girls as well. We're ready to continue getting better.
You were in meetings yesterday, and other coaches looking around the room. You're not going to sneak up on anyone next year. So talk about the preparation already for next year.
Yeah, we're on everybody's radars. In the TAPS level 1A, they know who we were and came back from that meeting, as you said, and heard a lot of compliments and good things said, but I know in the back of my mind as a competitor, they're gunning for us, and they'll be ready for us. But my job is to make sure we're ready for everybody else and some.
Sounds good. Well, we have two of your players here. We get a little deeper into the family and the team. We'll take a break, and we'll come back, and we'll have some players visiting with us. Jaime Gonzalez, state champion. Harvest Christian, we're at Luke Furia Motors in Brownsville, Texas. Buick, GMC, and Cadillac. Continue watching this.
Our new store in downtown Harlingen. We have furniture, appliances, clothes, collectibles, and more. All funds collected support the Sunny Glen Children's Home. Come see us at Vintage on Jackson at First and Jackson in Harlingen.
We are the San Benito Lady Hounds, and you're watching Real Sports Live. Go Hounds!
Baby, just listen to me.
Escucha.
We do everything with speed.
Prontísimo.
Out of home business. There is for all your
Barato.
needs. You say you just got a new boat. Come on by and we'll give you a free quote.
Prontísimo.
Okay, who's singing? New. Hello?
Accesible.
Come on.
Ask your agent how you can start saving with Pronto. Best price in town.
Date night on South Padre Island? No problem. You could hit the town and dance the night away. Or maybe you'd prefer some fun and games, like being a kid again. Party like a grown-up? Or a throwback to the good old days? Tough call. Luckily, either decision will be the right one. Choosing what to do on South Padre Island? That's as hard as it gets. Visit SoPadre.com.
We are the Wesco Lady Panthers, and you're watching Real Sports Live. Woo! Lady Bulldogs, and you're watching Real Sports Live. Go Dogs!
Coach, we were just breaking down the season, and as a parent, I know I have sisters, and just as a family, what did this mean to you guys? And I'll let your dad go first, and then you can answer. Just the sacrifices you guys have to make, the hours of the time you guys put in the gym. So just what did it all mean to you all once you guys were able to win that state championship?
Well, special. I mean, we've said that word a lot for our season this year. And when I played basketball, I was privileged to play for a great coach, Robert Capello, over at Coach Elsa, and he was one that drilled in us that our main goal was to win a state championship. And, man, Kevin, did I want to win a state championship bad. Really, really bad. And that was my focus every single day, trying to get better. And we came short. We ended up losing to the eventual state champs in San Antonio, school out of San Antonio. But I told the girls right before that game, so we're going to win this game today. We're going to be state champs after today. And I wanted to win it really bad, but to me, what's even more special was winning it with my two daughters and these other girls that have become like family. So to answer your question, what did it feel? It's special. I wouldn't trade it for anything.
And Ashley, for you, a junior, you still have one more year. And I going into this year, I thought you were a senior because you've been around for so long. It just happens. But as a junior, you were able to win it all. And for you, what did it mean for you as a player?
It meant a lot because it just showed that all the hard work we've been doing these past few years is finally coming up to it. And having one more year just means that we got to work even harder for next year.
And the season starts in mid-October officially, more or less, when you guys can start having practices. And you guys, the season ended, 2 weeks ago, more or less?
Yeah.
So from mid-October to, late February, that's a long season when you think about it. And I know that's just what we see. You guys still have off season, but as a player, how did you endure that extra long season where you added a month to your season having played in the playoffs?
We just had a lot of practices, and I feel like none of our practices are boring because we always add stuff, and it's like being with your sisters. So our practices are extra fun, all the chemistry. We hang out a lot after practices or before practices, so it's more just like a hangout kind of. And
Coach, another thing I think that we haven't brought up yet was you guys were fortunate to stay healthy.
Yeah.
All year. That's a huge part of this playoff run. Talk about that and you guys being able to just stay healthy for the entire year.
Yeah, I thank God for that. I really, really do, and I mean that from the bottom of my heart because that's if you were to tell me what's one thing going into the season, what's one thing that you're really trying to avoid, that's injury. We're not very deep, and our season opener was against St. Joe, and our starting post went down with a knee injury. And I was like, man, this is not the way I want to start the season. We've been waiting all this time to get this game going. But fortunately, she was just out for one game, and we didn't have any injuries after that. Yeah, some bumps and bruises, but you battle out, but nobody missed significant time or even games. So I'm very, very grateful for that. And as far as, the long season, it was long but short. And really, when we lost that last game last year in the Final Four, we couldn't wait to get this season started. So in our family and in our basketball family as well, the other girls, I think I can speak for everybody that it's kind of like we cannot wait to start the season, and when the season ends, we don't look at it like it was long. It's like, man, it's over. Now it's just back to the drawing board, and we can't wait for it to start again.
So, Ashley, as a shooter, I'm curious because last night in an interview I had with Mickey Castillo, the pitcher, she had 13 strikeouts. The girl she pitched against had 14. And between the two of them in the first 2 innings, they had 15 combined. So it's like, I'm going to get 3 strikeouts, I'm going to get 2, I'm going to get 3. So just back and forth. And as a shooter, we've seen it where you're hitting your threes, and another shooter, and it's kind of becomes a kind of a competition where each shooter is on. The question I asked the pitcher last night was, when was it, as a pitcher, you felt, I got my stuff going, she's got her stuff going, this is going to be between us, it's going to be a pitcher's duel. As a shooter, when do you know I'm on tonight? Is it in your pregame? Is it you hit a couple shots? Or when is it as a shooter? What's the shooter mentality?
I think it's in my pregame, but lately I've been focusing on every game I'm going in, I'm going to shoot good. That's my mentality, and if I'm not shooting good, I know one of my other teammates is shooting good. So I feel like I'm always on, my team is.
So it's like a pregame thing, kind of like a meditation kind of thing? Because I know it's a little different. It's a different sport a little bit.
Yeah.
And once you feel you're on, you know you got it.
Yeah.
And, Coach, talking about, your two girls, you had a freshman come in. Switching gears here, you had a freshman come in, and how well did she step into the varsity level and just kind of understanding that it's not junior high and it's not little league club ball anymore. Like at the varsity level, it picks it up a notch.
Yeah, she came in and she did just what I expected and some. So I'm really proud of Jamie. She was not intimidated or overwhelmed by game or opponents or anything like that. So she did really well. I think she brought in tons of energy. Anybody who saw her play knows exactly what I'm talking about. She is relentless on defense, creates a lot of turnovers, disrupts offenses, and from there, she can immediately go from defense to offense. And I think in the semifinal game, she had 25 at the half.
Wow.
I mean, she was 15 out of 16. She couldn't miss. And wow. But yeah, really proud of her. I'm glad she's seen all the years of just working at it. She's seeing the fruit.
So how much film do you guys really watch? Because I'm sure you guys go home, and I'm sure there's more film waiting for you.
She watches tons.
I watch film.
But I'm really proud of her. I mean, there are times that she took a jump on me. She'd come into the living room, and I'm relaxing, winding down. It's 9 o'clock at night.
Yeah.
I want to just get ready for bed. And she comes in and said, "Dad, I found film on so and so, and we got to watch out for number so and so." And I'm like, wow, I'm just impressed.
Yeah.
And she's outdoing me in this one. So she watches tons of film.
Who's harder on? Is Jamie harder on you, or you harder on her when it comes to the sibling rivalry?
I think I'm harder on her.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I gotta ask? What's the one-on-one like at home when you guys hoop it up in the backyard, no one watching? Are you officiating? Stay out of the way.
I watch and I'll cheer on both, but also critique both of them.
Oh.
But
how competitive does it get, you and your sister?
It gets really competitive. Yeah. I don't think I've ever lost a game to her, but they've been close.
Well, that's what she says.
No. She admitted it. She admitted it. She said she's never beaten me in a one-on-one, but they're usually close, and he'll watch and he'll cheer her on, foul, and I'm like, it's not even a foul.
Well,
it gets competitive.
She's like her dad. She talks a lot. So Jamie doesn't talk, so I have to talk for Jamie sometimes. But they're all competitive, Kevin. I got 4 daughters, and I got a baby boy. But you ask my youngest daughter, who's 9 years old, you ask her, can you beat Ashley? And she'll look at you and, yeah, I can beat her. They all say they can beat each other. So I love it. They got tons of confidence.
That's fun. So game of horse or strictly one-on-one around the world? What's y'all's go-to?
We do one-on-one, and then with all our sisters, we do horse.
Who's the champ there?
Me. Or Jamie's won some of those, but me and her, we switch it.
Definitely. You don't get any of the...
Well, if they want to win, I'd better not get in on it. So
That's good. That's good stuff. So, Ashley, looking back on the year, switching gears, and this question is for you too, Coach. A lot of coaches, especially we see it in football, where they like to play teams from outside of the Valley. They like to beef up their non-district schedule for reasons. You learn more from a loss than you do a win. But I really commend you guys the last few years where you guys play the 5As, you guys play the 4As, and some 6As mixed in there. As a player, how do you get ready for those games, and what do you guys take from that when you play against the 5As and 6As, whether it's a win or a loss?
Honestly, I think from my perspective, and I think I speak for the girls, and I'll let Ashley answer this. We really don't look at classification. We're kind of past that, because all year long, even in the summer leagues and stuff like that down here, I mean, you're going to play the 5A, the 6A. So for these girls, they've just developed this mindset where whoever we're playing next, that's the most important game we got. And as soon as we're done, win or lose, it's like move on to the next one. So you'll hardly ever see them celebrate a big win against the 4A, 5A, 6A. You'll see them mope a little bit if we lose a game, and not because of who we lost to, but because the fact that we didn't have enough that night. So I think we're past the classification, at least in our mindset. We're not focused on that. We just want to play the best that we can, so that we know that once district comes around in playoff times, we're battle tested, we're ready. So whoever will give us a game on.
Like my dad said, personally, I don't think any of us really care about it. Yeah, they have more than us, but it's 5 girls on the court. We don't think about it too much, and if we win, we win. It's another game. If we lose, we take it a lot harder. But yeah.
So before I let you go, we're excited to have you in our showcase. I know you were able to play in it last year. We got to talk a little bit about it over lunch. What are you most excited for on being a part of it?
I'm excited to play with all the TAPS girls, which I think will be super cool because we played St. Joe. I've heard about the girl from Providence a lot, and I don't know about the St. Augustine girl, but I think it'll be really cool.
Callista Martin's her name.
Callista Martin?
Don't ask me how I remembered that on the fly right now, but I did.
Okay.
She is really good.
Really?
She is very good.
Yeah,
She's
I've
a heck of a
heard.
shooter, and if we can get her to come down here and play with you, Reggie, it's going to be fun. It's going to be a lot of fun. We're going to take a quick timeout. When we come back, we're going to talk more Harvest Christian basketball on the other side of the break.
We're the Santa Rosa Lady Warriors, and you're watching Real Sports Live.
Our service is unmatched. Our commitment to our team and our community, relentless. Our products are innovative and exciting. Fruya, we're what's next now.
We are the Harlingen South Lady Hawks, and you're watching Real Sports Live.
Forever Memories Antiques and Collectibles, located at 237 North Sam Houston in San Benito, is filled with vintage items, collectibles, and a selection of vinyl records that's as good as it gets. Every shelf, every aisle, and table is filled daily by a number of vendors that ensures that something here just might be the item you have to have. The vinyl record area helps bring an added atmosphere that makes for the fun trip when stepping back in time with the memories. Forever Memories Antiques and Collectibles in San Benito.
Traigo 100 kilos de ropa, lo que se me antoja, dinero en el banco. Muchos me andan criticando, pues traigo carrazos que como le hago. Tengo aseguro del bueno, pronto y flexible y sale barato. Es mi corrido humilde, que no se te olvide que me ando ahorrando.
Ask your agent how you can start saving with Pronto. Best price in town.
We're Cal Chelsea, and you're watching Real Sports Live.
Welcome back to Luke Faria, Alexis Garcia joining us, and Ashley Gonzalez, both from Harvest Christian. So we got to talk to Ashley a little bit on our last segment. But for you, Ms. Garcia, as a junior, and for you able to win a state championship, what does it mean to you?
Just like Coach said, it's really special to me to be able to not even like just win it, but like win it as a family, because we're all like Harvest is it's all family. So just to be able to win it together.
Leading up to the playoffs, and I can ask you this too. You can answer this after Alexis. But what was the mindset going into the playoffs, knowing that because there's 3 phases to the season, right? There's non-district, there's district, and there's the playoffs. You guys checkmark both those boxes. So going into the playoffs, what was the mentality for you?
Well, in the beginning of the season, I was kind of like, everyone was like, "Oh, I'm so excited for district and playoffs and stuff." But for me, I was like kind of sad because I was like, "Oh, like our season's ending already." Like, cause like since we have a small district and stuff.
Right.
But for playoffs, like that's probably one of my favorite, cause like it's like you like what Coach says, you only get 4 more quarters. So.
Yeah. So for you, did you have there had to have been a motivation the way the season ended last year, but what was your mentality going into the playoffs?
It was kind of like you can't lose. It's kind of like keep your head high, no injuries, sleep early, eat healthy, all that stuff.
And for you this year, you've developed into quite a player. What were some things in the off season that you may have worked on that you saw this year, like, kind of come to fruition?
Well, cause we got Jamie came along, so we started off as like we're a shooting team. So
Right.
for me, what I worked on basically was like shooting and like, because I know like that's one of our strong suits, and it's always good to just keep working on something that we're strong on.
How about you? What were some things you worked on that you saw pay off this year?
I think defensive stuff, because I'm going to say last year one of the state reasons was because our defense was a little off, and I feel like that was my fault, mainly on our press. So this year I worked on it, and then our defense got a lot better.
So I'm curious. We're gonna have a little fun here. What's on the playlist? You had like 15 minutes to think about it.
I thought you were, okay.
No, I wasn't joking. What's on the playlist?
We listened to the same 2 songs, and it's like
Oh.
since freshman year. What is it?
We used to have like hype music like before
Okay.
we would.
And it's
we
been
would
the
be
same.
in the car like listening to it.
Well, what 2 songs are they?
Like
20 minutes.
20 minutes from
Lil
Lil
Uzi
Uzi,
Vert.
and
and
then
No Role Models.
No Role Models.
Okay, I've heard one of them. Never heard the other one. What's you guys' maybe? Do you guys do pasta diet? What's y'all's kind of ritual night before a game?
Actually, sometimes coach would like say, "Hey girls, let's go like to my house. We'll order pizza, just hang out." So pasta. Yeah.
Pasta,
Yeah.
pizza. Cool. You guys have any? We'll start with you. Superstition. I believe in superstition as a baseball player. What are some of your superstitions that you have? Maybe you gotta like put your right wristband on first, or a headband on first, or is there any superstition you have?
Before our game days, actually, I would wear this bracelet. I would wear a certain bracelet on this arm, but I don't really like.
No superstition, more or less.
Not really.
No. Ashley, do you have a superstition?
I don't think so. I just sleep early, but I don't know if that helps or anything.
No superstition. No.
Not really. I don't
No.
think so.
What's your go-to pregame meal? Like the day of a game, go-to pregame, you have to have it.
Chick-fil-A.
Chick-fil-A.
I don't.
Chick-fil-A. No, just
I'll go with Chick-fil-A.
Yeah.
Chick-fil-A. Sorry, because I know we've had plenty of guys come on here like they have to have like their Chick-fil-A sandwich. They have to have the mayo with the Chick-fil-A sauce mixed in together. You guys have anything weird like that? Well, what's your
Powerade and lemonade mixed together.
See, I knew it. I knew there was one. I knew it. You
Have you ever tried that? That's actually really good. Powerade.
the
and
Powerade with lemonade?
from
No.
Chick-fil-A.
With high C sometimes.
With high C?
Well, that's
yeah.
too much.
Okay, that's too much, but it was good.
Yeah, no, I've never tried that
Oh,
before.
it's
If
good.
you,
With lemonade,
so that's the thing you guys do
yes.
together?
I started because she
Yeah.
was like, "Oh, I'm getting Powerade with lemonade," and I was like, "Oh, I'll try it."
Powerade with lemonade. Certainly
Tastes
try that
good.
next time. Do you have a go-to order?
Not really.
Just the Powerade with lemonade? Is that it? Just the Powerade with lemonade?
Yeah,
No pregame?
Not really.
No, that's okay. That's all right. You're gonna be a part of our showcase as well, along with Ashley. So, you weren't a part of it last year, right? Were you in it last
Oh,
year?
yes, I
Forgive me.
was.
You
I
were
was,
okay.
yes.
So, just what are you looking forward to this year? I know we got. I guess told Ashley we talked a little bit about it at lunch and getting to kind of expand with the TAP schools with St. Joe, Laredo, and then talking about the charter schools. So, just what are you looking forward to as far as the competition goes?
I'm actually really excited to play with I heard Ashley said to play with the TAP schools and stuff. That's
Yep.
gonna be really fun. Like, 'cause we played against St. Joe already, but like to play with them, it's just like a really good experience. And the fact that I'm playing with some of the Harvest girls is
Right.
like adding more chemistry. Like we all have chemistry, so it's just gonna be fun.
Perfect. Ashley Gonzalez and Alexis Garcia. You'll see them soon enough at our showcase, April 14th through the 16th. So before we go, any shout-outs you guys want to give to any family, friends, anything like that? Any shout-outs? Any thank yous?
To our family, thank you.
Yeah. And our coaches.
Oh, yeah. Coach Landa, because he's watching this probably.
Oh yeah.
Perfect. Thank you guys for joining us. When we come back, we're going to talk more basketball on the other side of the break.
Today's gonna be a big day on South Padre Island, but what should you do first? A big breakfast with friends sounds pretty good, but you really wanted to paddle out and see the sunrise from the water. Breakfast or boarding or breakfast? How about boarding, then breakfast? That was easy. Choosing what to do on South Padre Island. That's as hard as it gets. Visit SoPadre.com.
Baby, just listen to me.
Escucha.
We do everything with speed.
Prontísimo.
Out of home business service.
Flexible.
Insurance for all your needs.
Barato.
You say you just got a new boat. Come on by and we'll give you a free quote.
Prontísimo.
Okay, who's singing near you? Hello?
Accesible.
Come on.
Pregúntale a tu agente cómo ahorrar con Pronto, porque más barato, nadie.
We are the Harlingen Lady Cardinals, and you're watching Real Sports Live. Cards up.
Sherryland ISD, a nationally recognized district focusing on quality and rigorous instruction where every child is immersed in a culture of academic success. A district dedicated to preparing our youth for the future. Our mission is to inspire, educate, and empower all students to reach their full potential and become leaders of the highest moral character. Sherryland ISD, excellence is our tradition.
We are back here at Luke Furia Motors in Brownsville, Texas. Again, congratulations to Harvest Christian on capturing that state championship game. The goal now is to repeat, obviously, and the next goal would be, Kevin didn't talk about it, but perfection.
Yeah.
You won it all. Can you win it all without a blemish on your record? That's something that coaches look at when they start adding on.
Yeah.
Here's our next level of what I'm going to challenge you girls to do.
Yeah, and what I love what Coach Jaime said, and you and I are competitors. So when he said, when I look back at the season, he's like, we could have done more.
Yep.
They're just coming off a state championship.
They won it
but
all.
We could have done more. That's what separates the good from the really good. That's what I'm taking from this whole segment is we could have done more.
In our showcase last year, they were on two different teams. One was on the Lightning, one was on the Rebels, and they ended up playing against each other, so they'll be on the same team this year. Look out when that TAPS team is finally assembled. All right, that leads us into this part of our segment, which we're going to talk showcase. And, Kevin, if we started talking about what we've done over the last, let's just even break it down the last 50 hours or so, we could probably have another 10-hour show on our hands on trying to explain just what happens with the showcase.
Mm-hmm.
But we're going to do the best we can to kind of explain, because it's not just throw a bunch of names in the hat, draw them out, and here's who we want to invite to our showcase. This showcase process evolved from last year to this year. Compare it from like first grade to a senior in high school, as far as the assembly process goes.
Yeah, last year, I know for a fact that it's always been a vision of yours, and to see it come to fruition in year 6, 7 under RSL, I think it was just a matter of just doing it. Speaking on last year, because it was always, well, we could, and then I think finally just the fact that you said this is what we're going to do, here's how we're going to do it, and we all just kind of were all in and learned as we went. For people, that I mean, it's a lot of work. It's certainly a lot of work. Showcase-wise, I know that was the hardest task I've ever had to do as far as responsibility goes. And it'll all pay off. All the grunt work that we're doing, it'll all pay off once the games are played, once the rosters are set, and once the games are played. I think people will appreciate that when they see the final product. Because right now there's a lot of questions. Word about this kid. Where is this? Where is that? So we're maybe, day 2 or 3 of actually sending things out. Day 2 maybe. Hasn't even been 24 hours.
Haven't even been 24 hours.
As far as sending invitations out. But we've been talking about this for maybe a month now.
Yes.
From when we started back with Mario Rodriguez at the Vipers, and then talking with Andrew Garza at the Vipers that night. So it's a process. As people don't understand, we're just kind of throwing this together, and it takes some time.
Yes.
So yeah.
And as far as the showcase goes, let's talk about it. It's the second annual Real Sports Live All-Star Showcase weekend. It'll be April 14th, 15th, and 16th. Mark the calendar with the eventual championship games on the final day on the 16th, all played at the arena where the RGV Vipers play their home games. Everything on day 2, which is Saturday, all the pool games will be played over at the Vipers practice facility. So NBA-type experience for all the players involved. Day 1, which is equal exciting as anything that we've put together yet, and that is the the opening ceremony, slam dunk competition, and three-point shootout, which I think is going to be classic this year. The biggest change from last year's showcase, if you were involved or if you watched it, if you were a coach that was in place to be a part of the showcase, the biggest change is the distribution of the players. And that is, we're still going with 2 pools of 3 teams, but the pools are separated this year, in which we have as the girls were talking about, the TAPS players are all going to be contained within a team comprised of TAPS players. The charter school, we did enough coverage on charter schools that the charter school players are going to be contained within their team. And then the UIL teams will be split into their teams. And again, because of the coverage area of Real Sports Live, and I'm going to quit saying Real Sports Live eventually. It's RSL Network. Just get used to saying it, RSL Network, and the showcase. But the biggest difference is that players aren't going to be split apart. You know, those 2 girls that were here on the show earlier were split apart last year. One was on one team, one was on another team. They had to guard each other. This year they're going to be able to play together, and I think that is going to up the ante to a whole nother level as far as competition goes. Fans are saying, well, charter isn't that good. Well, wait till you see.
Yeah.
TAPS isn't that good. Well, wait till you see. And wait till you see when they have to go against the best that the Coastal Bend has to bring. Last year, as soon as it was over, Corey, who was part of the coaching staff, he came around and told me, he's like, all right, he goes, we get it. This year, we got enough players to come down here and field a team from the Coastal Bend. Next year, we're winning it. And already he has been I talked to him in Christmas. I talked to him a month ago, and I've certainly talked to him the last couple of days. He's like, no, we're coming to win. The Coastal Bend's coming to win this thing, and the players that we're putting together. Criteria-wise, let me break that down for you, because, again, that is perhaps the biggest part of what goes behind the scenes. You want to peel the curtain back, here we go. Before the season began, we talked about we were going to do a second showcase, and we knew we were going to split it apart, having the private schools be a self-contained team. We also knew that the UIL teams were going to be involved, and we knew that the Coastal Bend team was going to be involved. We knew we were going to ask coaches to submit names, which we did. But we also put a huge bearing on the selection process, being that we wanted an eye test from announcers, such as Kevin, such as Ruben, such as Rudy, such as Jacob Young. Our announcers were going to be, and I put it down on paper, 50% of the selection process is, did that player catch your eye during our broadcast? Which means congratulations on whatever you received as postseason awards. Congratulations on whatever your team achieved. But 50% of the selection process was, what did you do that caught our attention during our broadcast? And Kevin, I think that gets lost when fans look at this, when coaches look at this. Well, why wasn't this player on there? Why wasn't this player on there? When the selection process begins with, we're a broadcast company. We're a broadcast company that reaches out to as many schools as we can get to. And we cover as many games as we can. And we would, I've said it 1,000 times, I'll say it 1,000 more. If I had my choice, we would be at every game of every school, and we would be broadcasting it one way or another. And I'd hire 5,000 people, and we would be broadcasting games. The reality of it is, it's all based on advertising. We're here at Luke Furia Motors. They're one of our advertisers. It's their direct funding that helps us do what we do. Remember, there is no NFHS. There is no pay-per-view. There is no charge for schools. We're doing what we do based on the advertising. With the advertising that's in place, here's the number of games we can get to. And therefore, the selection process begins and ends with, here's who we got to see play. Now, coaches do give input, and we appreciate the input. But again, Kevin, this is not A, a popularity contest, and B, it's not based solely on postseason accolades, team or individual, either way. And that makes it more difficult on what we're putting together when we send out these invites.
Yeah, I'd you kind of hit everything nail on the head. If I say anything else, it's just repeating what you said. But it's very simple, though, when it comes down to it. And as far as the selection process goes, we're all, it took us 3 hours. the other
There were
day?
350 names submitted, and that's on the UIL RGV side. Okay, I'm not
Right.
even talking about charter. I'm not talking about TAPS. I'm not talking about
Right.
the Coastal Bend. We had 350 names, and we began the process on, okay, let's go down this. You know, team one, let's go here. Go.
I know we're the point of it all is to keep the competitiveness. We're doing our best to pick the best players available, and if 3 of the best players are on one team, then 3 of the best players are on one team, and that's one thing that fans will see once these girls sign up is that there's going to be multiple girls from one team. Sorry, that they're that good. Those girls were that good. Those guys, those boys were that good, and that's just how it is. And I know last year, specifically in the softball showcase, it was kind of cutthroat, and I wish people were in that meeting with the committee I created, and it was straight up facts, no fluff. You know, she can do this, she can't. She struggles with this. She can do that. She's in. She's out. Done.
Yep.
That's the point of it. And it's not. And like we said, it's not like the East versus West, the senior game, which they do a great job with that. And that's a chance for the seniors to play their final game. The Vipers showcase, where it's a mixture of everybody, East versus West. This is not that. It's a completely, totally different showcase where we're mixing the East with the West with the East. Sophomores, freshmen, juniors, whoever can play is going to be a part of the showcase. It's fine. We're going to make people upset. We're either way, but I feel that we've done our due diligence. And like I said, all this will pay off once we sit down and see the final product come that April 14th weekend.
Yeah, once I saw the names that we had to work with, and then as we started dwindling it down from, you know, the first selection process, I'll peel back that a little bit for you as well. It was simply we went straight down the line, name by name by name by name, and I just simply asked the guys, yes, no, yes, no, yes, no, yes, no. And once we had all the yeses, then it was like, okay, now we're going to get to the next level of yes, alternate, all the way down the line. And we dwindled it down again. And then we still had a good, let's just start on the girls' side, a good 25 to 30 names extra on top of the girls that we needed. There's a definitive number because you want to limit the rosters to an ability that if you're going to be in a showcase and you're going to get the playing time to be in a showcase, that's a whole nother world as far as we want to invite a player to be there. And so then we got down to the point of, you know, it wasn't a coin toss. It was the game you called, Ruben. What did she do? Well, in the game I called, she did this. Rudy, what did she do in your game? Kevin, what did she do in your game? Okay, let's argue. There's 4 of them. Pick one. And then we would pick one of the 4. The other 3, we would be like, okay, now you're in this next group. Now there's 4. Pick one. Now there's 4. Pick one. And this is what I was doing with the guys behind the scenes. It was like, and then we got to a number, and we got down to the final. Now we've got 49. We need 45. Now we got to get down to 4. And so it was like, okay, best player on the team. We've got 2 players from this team. We got 2 players from this team. When they went head-to-head against these 2 players from this team, of those, who was the best? So the selection process went into a whole nother world. And again, I go back to, we broadcast as many games as we can for as many schools as we can. It's a point-blank fact. There are school districts. When I started Real Sports Live, how many school districts were showcasing and broadcasting basketball games? 0. Now there are many schools that are showcasing with streaming services of their products, of having their games out there. And in some cases, they allow us to come in and broadcast the games. In some cases, they don't. And so when you limit the number of games that we as a broadcast company got to see of players, well, then it weighs differently on when we're selecting the final players in the showcase. And again, I want to make sure fans understand that and the coaches understand that, because I've been around this business for 30-plus years, and I know what it's like to be in meetings in which coaches are weighing in on, I want to make sure I get my players on a list. And, you know, these lists for all districts, sometimes there's one district we saw, Kevin, 50 names. made an all-district list of some sort, which meant 50 sets of parents were like, my kid made that list. They deserve to be in a showcase. And that's just not the case when you try to dwindle it down that 350 players were submitted. We got to come up with 45 players, and then we're going to put them into teams that we want to ask to not just come and have a lot of fun. We want to make it fun, but we've put this into this craziness, which I did, and that's like, no, we're going to put it in a tournament format. We're going to have some pools. We're going to crown an eventual champion, and so we're going to bring out the competitiveness of these players, which brings it to another level. But again, Kevin, you're fielding, you have been, you will, so will I. Ruben, congratulations. You don't have to field these kind of calls, but it is a big difference. The biggest difference in the RSL showcase is the fact that we swayed away from that popularity contest. We swayed away from that, hey, we got 2 players in. We swayed away from, hey, the team performed well. We're not taking anything away from a team. We're drilling this down to players, and that made it much more difficult.
So get ready.
Get ready.
I'll say, get ready. It's
Yeah,
going to be a lot of fun. It's going to be a lot of fun. Like I said, people are going to sign up. They're signing up as we speak. And that dunk contest will be fun. The 3-point contest is going to be great. And, we had a lot. It was a grind. Those 3 days we were out at the island last year. But it was a lot of fun. And I think these kids are going to enjoy it too. And then hopefully, we can have some colleges come down.
Yeah, I've had college coaches. I had one call me again last night from Louisiana. The college interest for the RSL showcase this year is taking another level, which is a benefit for the players that get to play.
Yep.
They get to come in. Again, another behind-the-scene things. You're doing it with softball right now. The critical piece of the puzzle is how can we get the most bang for the bucks for the colleges that are coming to watch, and that is, okay, let's pick the weekend that's least populated by tournaments with options for players to go out there. And this threshold was a sweet spot. April 14th, 15th, and 16th, there was nothing big going on out there. And so thus the RSL showcase becomes hey, this is where colleges need to come to take a look at players. Slam dunk contest, Kevin, it's going to be something to behold. We found out that during the home run contest and the softball that there's a better time than not to have that. And we think that having it in the opening night is going to add more to the slam dunk contest and the 3-point shootout.
Right, yeah. And like I said, going into day 1 last year, I walked into the gym during the first game, and I'm like, okay, I already see 3 different things we can do better.
Yep.
So it's I mean, give him credit, people, please, because he just walked in one day and said, we're going to do this showcase. We've never done it before. So for it to actually come to fruition last year and be an actual event, I mean, if you understand the work he put in, just please, please give him the credit, because it's a big deal. It's very hard to do. It's very hard to do to get that many people in one spot, let alone get a venue. That was a whole other deal in itself, and then getting the kids to come down. So it's going to be a lot of fun, and it gets to be in Edinburgh this year. Ooh.
Yeah.
Bert Ogden.
Yep, Bert Ogden Arena has opened the doors. I can't say enough about the Vipers. They have been not just willing, but eager to make this happen, and it's going to be a lot of fun. I answer that if you're going to be in the business of promoting and showcasing and reporting on competitors, you better be competitive yourself. and so just throw something at me and say, hey, I don't think we can get that done. Yeah, we can. And we did it. My credit is to you guys. You guys put in the work. Ruben, your excitement, year 2, what do you see the difference in heading into this showcase?
Well, besides seeing that we're going to be playing in the G League Arena, I think the level of talent. Last year, of course, we had the Rio Grande Valley and the Coastal Bend. Now we're going to see kids from El Paso, Dallas, San Antonio. Forget calling it the South Texas. I want to call it the Texas Regional Showcase, because we're going to see a lot of talent, different types of talent from all over the valley. We got kids who already have D1 looks from the upper state, and it's going to be a fun ride. And I'm just counting down the days. April 14th, 15th, and 16th, that dunk contest, I know we're all going to go crazy for that one.
Criteria, did we broadcast at least 2 of your games on Real Sports Live and your players caught our eye, then you're potentially on the list to invite. And in this case, Ruben's exactly right. We've got them coming from Houston, from San Antonio, from near Dallas, from El Paso, the Coastal Bend, and here in the Rio Grande Valley. And it's not just private. It's not just public. It's both. and it's going to be a lot of excitement. April 14th, 15th, and 16th, the RSL Showcase. Again, guys, I think we've hit it all. We're going to be manning our phones and watching as the players are signing up. We've already had players sign up. If you are a player that hasn't signed up and you got an invitation, please do so. We did put a deadline on that because I assure you we're already putting a list together of players and coaches that want to get in this showcase, and so we encourage you to sign up and get your form in. The form's out there. It's an information sheet, which Kevin's done a masterful job at getting these out. I've been helping on the private schools primarily. He's been handling the public schools. Corey's working up in the Coastal Bend on making sure he gets the information out. Players, if you've got an invitation, again, the big picture is take a look at just how many submissions there were wanting to be in this showcase this year, and you were selected. Consider it an honor. It is a big honor, and we want to honor you with a showcase that's a high level, and I think by being at the Vipers facility, that's going to happen. It's going to do it for our show. Again, we could go about a 5-hour show here today at Luke Fruya, but again, we got to get back to work on the showcase. Softball and baseball season, fans, we just started the real roll. Ruben's going to be at a tournament tomorrow with Brownsville St. Joseph. Kevin's got some big softball games scheduled. Rudy is hopping around, going to track, going to softball, going to baseball on any given day. I'm not even sure where Rudy's going, but I know we've got him busy. Jacob Young back in soccer mode. We're starting to see teams crowned for postseason treks for soccer, but there's still some big games coming up, including our game of the week this week, which is Los Fresnos and Harlingen, and we'll be handing out another check in which we hand out a scholarship check to the home school. They take that and use that within the athletic department and award the scholarship. I'm kind of excited to see all the recipients this year. We've handed out a bunch of checks beginning in football season and carried that through. Kind of excited to see the list of the number of athletes that we have been able to assist in a small way with these scholarship checks, and so that should be a lot of fun. But again, it's going to be a busy week. Invite you to join us on our showcase April 14th, 15th, and 16th. I know the Vipers were busy yesterday, and they may have it up today. They're going to have it out there so fans can start picking up tickets for the showcase. Last year we were in charge of the ticket sales. I got out of that quick. I was like, it's a venue that they're used to handling that. And so the arena and the Vipers will be handling all the ticket sales. It takes a burden off of our shoulders, and we don't need to do something someone else already does well. But I do want to let the fans know that tickets will be available, if not now, soon, going through the Vipers. And as soon as they give me the green light on exactly how fans can click somewhere to get to purchase tickets, we'll share that on our social media. Anything to close it out?
Nope. Ready to roll.
All right. Again, congratulations to Harvest Christian. They were a state champion here in the Rio Grande Valley, a guest on our show here today, and one of 4 teams that we broadcast at a state championship level throughout this year, and all will be represented in our showcase April 14th, 15th, and 16th. Until next time, from Luke Fruya Motor.